It's the Genius Portal. Podcast is here. Come play in your heart. Okay. Hello and welcome back to the Genius Portal podcast. I'm joined by the lovely Lady Addie today. Of Fifth of a Second Photography. And I was just saying before we jumped on and pressed record that I'm so excited to speak to Addie about this project and about her perspective from behind the lens, because it's so different to my experience. It's so different to everyone else that I've been speaking to. And I just think it's a unique perspective to receive when photographers and videographers, in my experience, they're in their art form. So much of what we see of their art is the finished project. And we don't really hear so much about what their process is and what's going on for them, or what sets them up for their genius to flow. And I don't even know if that's what we're going to end up talking about, but I am really excited for your perspective. And for those of you listening who don't know Addie, Addie is an incredible photographer in the Southwest. She is a lover of tea and a lover of details and depth. And my experience shooting with you, Addie, is shot with you 3 times now, yeah? For one of my book launches, and one just for fun and personal branding, and one for this shoot for Temple Calling. And my experience shooting with you is that it's so natural. It's so easy. I really do feel like I'm having a conversation with you, even though I'm not speaking with you while you're taking photos of me or while you're capturing it. It just feels that natural, like we are sitting and having a cup of tea, or we have gone for a walk and we are just spending time together. And so it's funny because we haven't actually spent a huge amount of time together outside of working together. But I feel like I know you so well because it's so intimate and it's so connecting. So yeah, I'm excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. And
thank you for the invite. It's so good.
You're welcome.
Love this already.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's nice. Yeah, even introducing people, it's such a beautiful drop in to that person to receive them. So yeah, I'd love to. You're welcome. I would love to. I'm just beaming. My face is sore from smiling so much today. It's the best. Yeah, I would love to hear kind of your journey with Temple Calling and with this coming into your orbit, because from my end it was very, hey babe, I have a really short deadline. Is this possible? Would you be open to? It sounds crazy, but this is my vision. And it was pretty quick, and it was a lot of people, a lot of models, a lot of moving parts, not ideal weather conditions, all that sort of stuff. So it was a lot of unknown, really, and a lot of moving bits to fit together in a short period of time. But I'd love to hear from your perspective what it was like being invited into this glorious chaos, and how that kind of compares to other shoots that you do, because I think it's really different, but I'll be curious to hear what you think. Yeah.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction as well. That's so kind of you. Yeah, it was different, and I love that you describe it as this beautiful chaos. It was just that I think that when you approached me, there was just you had this energy and this drive, obviously, about the whole thing that was really, really powerful, and I felt it immediately. And I think that yourself, you probably know, and if there's anybody that has followed any of my work, they know that I do normally work quite slowly. And I do kind of pride myself on, taking a bit more time, getting to know my clients, really getting to know the depths of their business, or how we can share their story with the world really powerfully. And it all takes so much time to do all of that. But what I loved about working with you, and that when you approached me about this journey, this very quick journey we're about to go on, it was, you were just so clear about the intentions. And it was just this powerful force that I felt behind you that was driving it. And I think that normally, if it had been anybody else, I probably would have said no, because it felt really big. And normally I wouldn't be sure if I could hold something like that, and in such a short space of time for me as a creative. But just feeling what you had, I just knew that I'd be okay, and that everything, there was just not even a question in it. When you asked me, it was kind of like well, yeah, of course we're going to do this. Like, it's already been decided almost. Like, it was like, it wasn't even you didn't even have to really ask me a yes or a no. It was just like, yeah, we're doing it. Of course we're doing it. And it was actually really inspiring for me as a creative to witness someone like doing what you did. It was very impressive, and I was completely blown away at every single goalpost that you set, how you hit it so spot on and quickly, and how you brought everybody together in the way that you did, and just the way that it unfolded all quite quickly. I just couldn't, and I still can't believe it that it happened. But you were just so impressive through that whole thing. And like you mentioned, it was very unideal weather on the day of the shoot. I remember even a few days out, I was sending you these weather forecast charts, because the wind was off the charts. It was like going to be howling, and the location that I'd picked, I knew it was quite an exposed location, so we were going to witness quite a lot of wind through that particular location, and the rain, the clouds, like, it was all looking really grim. And there was part of me that was starting to panic a little bit about that. Not that I'm usually a panicker of weather. I think me as a person, I don't normally get bothered about things like that. I'm very much like, it'll just be what it'll be. But I get worried for my clients, because I want them to receive what's going to be the best for them. Like, that's the part of me that starts worrying, and that's the part that keeps me up at night worrying, I guess, for my client. And I remember I sent you these weather charts, and it makes me laugh, because the response I got back from you was just like, oh, I don't read surf charts, I have no idea what they mean, and it'll just be fine. Like, you were just like, I honestly, and you were so calm about it, and you were just like, honestly, it's just going to be great. Like, no matter what the weather is doing, it'll just be perfect, and it'll all work out perfectly. And honestly, like, after I received that response from you, I felt like a ton of bricks had been lifted off my shoulders. And that was just the go ahead that I needed to just be able to go forth powerfully as well, because all of a sudden that worry was completely taken away from me, and all the other good stuff could then come in once that had been taken away. I was like, right, let's go. It'll be what it'll be. That's fine. And it was not ideal weather. The wind was howling. Those rain clouds kept coming in with those big bursts of rain, and there was umbrellas flying around everywhere. But it was just so perfect at the same time. It was so perfect. And I think because everybody was prepared for this weather, and because of the type of shoe that it just added an extra layer of drama to the whole thing. It was just like, it was actually perfect weather when I look back on it. Like, it was perfect weather for the shoot. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was the perfect, like, metaphor for this chaos that had all come together so wonderfully. It was just that. It was the same thing on the day. It was like this chaos of this weather, but oh man, it just helped to glue the whole thing together in a really remarkable way. it was, it was, so yeah, to answer your question, yeah, really different to most shoots that I do and most clients that I work with and most briefs that I get, but in the most glorious way. And I think that there's very few people that I would work with and say yes to for a shoot such as that and in such a short time frame. But there are a couple of people that I know that I feel safe with and to say yes, and that it can all be brought together really quickly, and I can edit it up really quickly as well, because I'm still just in that energy of it. And, you know, normally a shoot such as that went on for the whole day, it would take me a long time to edit up those pictures. And I'm talking like 2 months. But you know, I was still in the energy of it all, and I got them all edited up really quickly. And, you know, even after I went home from the shoot, I was up till I think 2 o'clock in the morning, just sorting through the pictures and editing up a few quick ones. Like, I mean, was it the next day that I got you the sneak peeks? Like,
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
And there was 80 of them.
Yeah, I was just still in that energy, and I don't know where the energy came from, you and from the women and what was created, and I was riding on that and absorbed all of that, and then had the biggest day, but then was able to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning and still and it's almost unheard of for me. Like, you know, it's not something that wouldn't normally be that way, but it was. And yeah, it was very otherworldly and a very unique experience that I'm really, really thankful to have been a part of.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It was amazing actually when you sent through the sneak peeks, because I was like, oh, cool. I was expecting like 4 or 5 photos. And there was 80. I was like, Addie, this is like an entire gallery as a sneak peek. Like, how many photos are there? And
because I've been up for 8 hours editing them after the shoot.
My goodness. But yeah, it was incredible. I remember there being just moments throughout the day where you and Sarah, who was assisting you, for the sake of the listeners, where you would both look at each other and just have these moments of like, whoa, did we just capture that? Did that just happen? Or, you know, when we were up on the hill, all of us, you would take the photo and then you'd be like fist pumping, like, yes. That was some of my favorite moments, just seeing you in the pure joy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that like your move? That's like your go-to, I'm so stoked with that photo I just took.
The
move?
fist pump?
Yeah.
I actually didn't realize that I do that until you just said it. I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
You do.
Do I?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I don't even know.
Oh, it's so good. I wish I had footage of it, but I don't, because we were in front of the screen. But
wow.
And even watching you, particularly inside, was to a whole other level, because we had the 2 shots. We had the bits outside, and then we had inside, which had beautiful floorboards. And you were like squatting, moving, and like your legs were like you were doing twister or something. You just, the way that you would just naturally move, but it looked so natural, like you're just flowing. It's like your camera needed to be somewhere and your body would just mold however it needed to in order for the camera to be in that spot. It was incredible. And I remember sitting there, because I was kind of going in and out of being in and then organizing the next person and then being in, and when I would come out, people would be like, have you seen Addie? Like, have you seen the way that she squats? And like, how is her knee over there? And we'd be like, the shoot would be happening, which was amazing. And we were like enamored by it. But we would also be like, wow, just in awe watching you in your zone, because it was so like that. Like, you had no idea.
That's so funny.
It's beyond being conscious, right? Like, you're just in your zone.
Yeah, something else takes over for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cool. What was it like having like an assistant there? Would you call it an assistant or a support person?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My support person, Sarah, was just absolutely incredible. And yeah, I know that in the beginning I wasn't going to have that, but as soon as we decided that I would have a support person, Sarah was just the first and only person that came into my mind, actually. I can't imagine that it would have been anybody else. It was just, she was the perfect support for me to be there and just to have ideas to bounce around off her in the moment as well. Often Sarah will see something that I don't see, and she's so good at that and so good at giving the input immediately, like the moment that she sees it. And we work really well together. And she has a very unique eye that I trust and that I love. And yeah, it was so good having her there to support all of the women and to help me as well, to because it was such a huge day and it was so big trying to, you know, organize 14 different people, and it was essentially like 16 shoots in one day, really, is what we did. And I'm really, really thankful that she was there to help. It was incredible. And I think she just added that extra layer of epicness to the day as well. She has really beautiful energy, and she's like a bit of a mama figure to have around as well. She's so caring, and you know, in moments where I'm not able to necessarily pick up certain things, she just naturally does that for me. Because, you know, when you're taking the photos, you can't be doing everything. And yeah, it was incredible having her there to help. It was so good.
Yeah, she was just like wide awake. Like she was just so on and so connected and so encouraging of everyone. Like that real, like,
yeah, she's like your biggest cheerleader.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember talking to her before she was coming, once you connected us, and she just sent me a voice note. She was like, because I sent her a voice note to say, hey, so excited you're coming. Can't wait to connect with you in person. So we've connected a little bit on Instagram before. And she was just like, oh, I love women. I love that you voice noted me, and I love women. And I can't wait. And it was just like this big,
oh my gosh, she's such a goose.
energy.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Is that the
I
first
love
time
it.
you've shot with somebody like helping you like that? Do you normally have an
No.
assistant?
Yeah, no, for big things, I'll often reach out for a bit of help.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I mean, Sarah wasn't taking photos for me as such. Sometimes I'll reach out for a second shooter. So I've got someone taking photos for me as well. And then they send me their images, and then I do all of the editing from that. But it was, Sarah wasn't taking photos, so it wasn't a second shooter as such, but she was just this, incredibly epic support. And like you said, just wide awake and loved all of the women, like loved the whole experience. I think I feel safe in saying that as well on behalf of her, that she had a really, really incredible day. And yeah, it was for all of us. I think it was just, we were all so blown away, weren't we? Just like, well, even while we were in it and after it, and it was just like this mad, like, whoa, what has happened?
I honestly was like, my heart broke open for like 5 days, I reckon. Afterwards, I was just like, it was like a similar, but I mean different, but like the same buzz after I got married. I was just like, bee, for however long, and still am sometimes. But same, I'm still looking at the photo. What's it called? The album.
The
And
gallery.
the gallery. Yeah, that's the word. Thanks. I'm still looking at the gallery and going, oh my God, I don't know if I saw that photo like that before, or wow, that's us, or shit, that's me, shit, that's Paige. Like, yeah, it's amazing. And I feel like I haven't even, so I'm just kind of getting into it, been so focused on getting the covers done for the single releases and for the album itself and for the lyric books, and like I've been so focused on that art that I haven't even really gotten to the point of sharing lots of it yet. And I feel like I can feel the precipice of sharing it all, and I can't wait. I just think they're gonna blow people away. That's incredible.
It will. And there's still images. So there's a few certain images that I still look at, and it's just like unbelievable that we created it together. There's a couple that stick in my mind. Like, I don't want to, like, no spoilers or anything. I don't want to, but there's a couple that I remember literally screaming, like jumping for joy, like rejoicing when I couldn't believe that we'd got those images and that they turned out the way that they did. Like, just remember that pure joy in that moment, like, of like, whoa, like, oh my God, that was amazing. And everyone's like high-fiving and hugging and like, it was just so incredible. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was reflected in the individuals as well. Like, as each woman came out of her bit, there were particular, like Christine comes to mind, who was doing the mermaid.
Yeah.
When she finished, it was like we went into a trance, and then the trance
Mm-hmm.
ended because the shoot was captured, and then she was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and just so full of joy. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite moments, actually, watching her. Like,
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I think I got a couple of images in that moment. Like, so after we got the shots that we needed, those shots are even just as powerful and just as special, because you can see that look of like, oh my God, on her face. Like, I can't believe that I just did that. Like, that was incredible. And I've managed to capture that moment after as well. And the two of you together, and they're really
so
special. Like,
beautiful.
a few of those ones, like the after moments as well, and the in-between moments. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love those. There's those with a few of the women. With Christine, she was so cold because she was like kneeling in this little
Yeah.
river thing.
Yeah.
And as you know, but for the sake of people listening, she was so cold. And when I hugged her afterwards, I could feel her heartbeat on my arm.
Oh.
I was like, whoa, like her heartbeat was so
Oh.
fast, and she was like shaking, but she was
Oh.
elated. And we were like, do
Yeah.
you need a jumper? Do you need a towel? She's like, nope, I'm so warm.
It's like, you're actually not, you're blue.
Like, no, baby, I'm really cold.
Yeah. You're freezing.
But she
Oh
was
my
so lit
gosh.
up. She was so,
Oh.
yeah, she was enthralled. It was really,
Wow.
really cool. And I feel like we get to give another gift when we share them as well. Like, not
Yeah.
really. I mean, I think one of hers has been shared in a reel you did and a reel I did. Like, they haven't really been shared.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. I think like a recurring theme that's come up for me in reflecting on the day and in the conversations too, it's been so magical actually debriefing, because when you do something like this, and I think photography in general, when it's with a photographer who's present and encouraging you to actually connect with yourself and be in your body and be you, rather than be in a particular pose or um, be in a particular position, it's really vulnerable and it's really heart opening and it's really healing. There's like a medicine, and then you get to see yourself reflected afterwards. And yeah, I really deepened my appreciation for the art of photography, but like real embodied photography. I don't know if there's a better word for that, but where the model or the muse, the person or people in front of the camera, are actually undergoing a healing, and you're capturing that, and they're receiving themselves, or they're tapping into their power like they never have before, and you're capturing that. And so you know that they're experiencing it in that moment, but then there is like support reminding them afterwards. But I feel like because we've had, like, that's always there, you have the moment and then you get the photos, but having these conversations and having these debriefs and having these calls, and we've had a group chat in the base camp, it's provided this space for real integration. And so there's these real tangible shifts that have happened in the women. It's been
Wow.
incredible. But yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective on photography as a healing modality in that way, or as like a way for people to remember who they truly are, because that's what your work certainly does for me anyway, and what I witnessed it do for all those other women.
Wow, that's incredible feedback to get. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And yeah, it is just that. It can be so healing having a photo shoot done. And yeah, I'm almost lost for words when I get asked a question like that, because there's so much that I could say about it all. But at the same time, there's just this level of mystery in it all for me, which I love and I've always loved. And yeah, it's always very challenging for me to put words to, but I love what you mentioned about, not specifically asking people to go into certain poses, because rather encouraging the muse, the women, to embody what they were hoping to embody that day and really moving more into that space. That was where all the magics did start coming out. And yeah, it was really so beautiful seeing all of the women embody that as well. I think possibly some of them were quite nervous and didn't know how to, in inverted commas, pose, and they didn't know what they should be doing. But the moment that I asked them just to close their eyes and take some deep breaths and really try and sink in and embody what they were trying to embody that day, it just naturally started flowing and it just naturally started happening before my eyes. And that was really incredible to see that. And I think that I almost felt the energy as well just shift completely. And I thought it would be challenging because I knew I didn't have very much time with each woman. Usually in a photo shoot, I get an hour and a half, 2 hours with someone to be able to capture these images. But I had 10 minutes with each goddess and we had to work really quite quickly. But it happened and it worked, and they all did incredibly well. I was so blown away by each and every human that you asked to come along that day. And the fact that everybody stayed for the whole day as well, like even though they only had their sort of 10-15 minutes individually, they all just stayed and supported each other and supported you through that whole entire day. And it was such a big day. Like, wow, weren't you up at like 2 o'clock in the morning getting dressed or something? Like,
yeah, I think my makeup artist got here at 4 a.m.
oh, far out. Yes, it was such a huge day for everyone. But they were, yeah, I really loved how supportive everybody was of each other. And yeah, I don't think I answered your question there. I'm sorry. But yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, nailed it. Nailed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Yeah. It was really like doing sessions, like energy work sessions, or it doesn't even feel like the right word for it, but yeah, like little embodiment sessions with every single muse. Yeah, and it was incredible. I'd love to kind of not change tunes a little bit, but I'd love to hear how you got into photography, because I don't know that about you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Photography has been something that I have adored my whole life. And it was a love that was passed on to me from my dad. So my gorgeous, gorgeous father, I love him so much. I'm such a daddy's girl and always have been. And he always had a film camera loaded with film and ready to go, and he would sit it on the mantelpiece above the fire in our home. And he just always, like, he wasn't a photographer or anything like that, but Dad just always loved taking photographs of us kids. And I just remember that whenever we were having fun, like there was just something crazy happening in the house, or the animals were doing something funny, Dad would pick up the camera and he would just take the pictures. And half the time we didn't even know that he was taking them. So he wasn't a big, like, right, everybody get together and say cheese. It wasn't like that. He would just capture the images as the magic was happening without anybody really knowing. And my mum and dad separated when I was 3. And so then I would only go and see my dad like every so often. Like I would go for the odd weekends and a little bit of time during school holidays sometimes. And, you know, I think being always being so close to my dad, that time was really, really treasured for both of us. I mean, I'm the youngest of 5, but I've always had a very, very special and particular connection that has always been there between my dad and myself. And I know that like my dad has always felt that too. And so, yeah, the photographs just probably amplified, if anything, you know, on those times when we were together. And, you know, then the time would come that I would have to leave him and I would get put back on the train and I would get sent back to my mum and my stepdad, you know, back to like the real world of school and all of the routines and the things. And I didn't have a very good relationship with my stepdad at home. You know, it was quite challenging in that environment. But, you know, within a few days, a letter would arrive through the mail and it would be from my dad, and he would have gone and got the photographs developed straight away. And he would write a handwritten note and he would send them to me with the best images that he picked out. And the note was always the same. It would be, hey, Addie, just a little note just to let you have these photographs, you know, and just a little note to tell me how much he loved me and that he couldn't wait for next time. And so I learned from a really young age the power of photography, because I would receive those images and they were like receiving gold. They would fill my heart up with something that I just can't even describe. Seeing, you know, the photos that he took and remember it, and it was a feeling. And I still remember it and I still feel it. I feel it, the feeling that I would get when I would just look at these images, you know. It was like a full body, like you feel it in your whole body. And so that was just something that I experienced, from being really young. And I really learned how powerful photography could be. And that's just something that's just always been with me and always stayed with me. And, you know, the fact that Dad didn't force people to do anything in these photographs, he would just quietly capture things as it unfolded, has very much been my style and the way that I have adapted my work as well, which, you know, I'm so honored that I now get to work in that way for other people. You know, I'm not a stylist. I'm not a photographer that will force people to go into poses or even really to direct people very much at all. It's not a style that I've ever felt that I've needed to adapt, and it's just always worked and it's always been quite powerful. And I know that I've got my dad to thank for that. And I've still got all of the images that he sent me. I have this big, huge, it's like an ex-military medical box, actually, that I've got all of these photos in. And it was literally my only possession that I brought with me from the other side of the world when I moved here. I brought all of these photos with me. And that's like really one of the only things, I think, that and a childhood teddy bear is the only things that I brought with me from that side of the world with me. But the photographs had to come. They're just such a huge part of my life, you know. And so that's just my love for photography. When I left school, I went to college and began a course in art and design, and it had a photography element in it. I didn't actually end up completing that course because there was a fashion element to it that actually destroyed my soul a little bit, and I just couldn't continue with the course. And I ended up getting qualified in hospitality management, of all things, and went on to manage hotels for a little while. Then I ended up getting into the veterinary world. I did 7 years in the veterinary industry with the animals. And it was funny because, and I write about this on my website actually, there's a section that's called Story of Origin. And I write about how when I would be in emergency situations in the vet hospital, how my first knee-jerk reaction would be to reach for a camera and to take photographs of the chaos that was unfolding. You know, there would be some chaotic scenes. Like, I've seen some things that inside those clinics, you know, then inside those emergency sections of just like utter chaos. And every single time I would just be like, man, this would be just so good to just be a fly on the wall with your camera and capturing like blood squishing everywhere and people slipping and dropping things, and you know, like tubes and blood and people crying and like, you know, like on it, and just this utter chaos. And maybe like, man, like, oh, I just wish I could just be taking photos right now, you know, like bottles of anti-venom like flying around everywhere. And that was always my first thing, was like, yeah, I wish I could be taking photos. And I did often like whip my phone out, and I've got a few photographs of, you know, things on my phone, and I've put those phone pictures up on in this section of my website. And you know, there's one of the vet nurses is kind of on the floor surrounded by medical instruments, and she's cradling a few like freshly born puppies, you know, like after an emergency cesarean. And you know, because and one of the incredible vet surgeons, Amy, there's a picture of her hands, I think, and they're just covered in blood. And I remember she'd done a huge surgery and she knelt down, and I think to like stretch out her back, and she had these gloves on and they're just dripping in blood, and she crisscrosses her fingers together. And I remember, and I was just like whipped my phone out and just had to get a picture of it, you know, because I was just like, that's such a sick shot. Like, and I think it was after 7 years of me doing this that I went, do you know what? I think that I should really pay attention to this, because it seems that I want to be taking photographs more than I actually want to be doing my job. And I should really do something about that. and so I did. Yeah, like I'd worked in that industry for 7 years, and I just gave myself full permission to just change my mind. And I'd never owned a business before, but yeah, I didn't know any other way to be able to do photography full time other than just to be able to launch my own business and start working for myself. And so I did it. And that was 2.5 years ago. I launched my business.
Wow. I've got tears all over my face listening to you share about your dad. And then I've never been in anything to do with veterinary medicine at all. But my pre-entrepreneurship journey was in the medical field. I was studying to be a surgeon.
That's
So
right.
I totally, the chaos. I'm like, yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you mean with the chaos. And
Yeah.
I can imagine it would be wild to have a photographer in there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not my gift or my genius. So my brain never went there, but it's cool to put that lens on and see it from that perspective. And I'm definitely going to go stalk your website after this and find that story and those photos. Wow. Okay. So talk us through, I think actually before I ask you that, firstly, I just want to acknowledge incredible that you just gave yourself permission to change your mind, because it's something that I see people struggle with often. Mm-hmm. They realize they want to do something else, and then they go, whoa, and they go down a hole of making themselves wrong or beating themselves up or looking at all the reasons why they can't, rather than just going, oh, I want to do something else. And that's actually all there is to it. I just want to do something else, and it's my life. And if I want to do something else, I can. We're fortunate enough to live in parts of the world where we can. But I would love to, have you take us through that transition, because it is a pretty big transition from that moments or the recognition that you had of, wow, photography is obviously the thing that I want to do, through to officially being a business owner and launching that. I believe it's only been 2.5 years.
2.5 years, yeah.
Wow.
I know, I can't either. It's been the craziest 2.5 years. But far out, I had no idea that it would happen the way that it all has. The moment that I changed my mind and just put all of my energy into actually doing something that I really, really love, how it all just unfolded and all started coming into place has been really, really incredible. But yeah, the transition, it's been huge. It's been massive. And like you say, it's difficult to give yourself that grace sometimes of, I just want to do something else. There is an awful lot of stuff that comes in and tries to stop you, I think. And a big one for me was I didn't want to let my team down. I didn't want to let, my work down. It was such a, especially working in environments like that, they're more your family, when you're working in really close circles of work, and in those types of situations as well, in those types of jobs, I think there can be an awful lot of stress, and there's tears and there's blood, and it really binds you together. And one of my biggest things was that I just didn't want to let everybody down. I didn't want to let my bosses down. I didn't want to let my co-workers down. I didn't want to let the people down that had supported me through me being a single mum at one point, but still working so hard for this dream that I had to do this job as in the veterinary world. I didn't want to let all of them down because they'd put in so much effort to, like helping me and looking at like childcare, and for me to have, there was just this dream and I wanted it so badly, and all of the money that goes into the study and all of the textbooks that cost $200 each, and just like the time of the study and just all of the things, there was so much there that was quite big, that felt really quite daunting to walk away from after you've put so many years into something. But then ultimately, coming to that place of, I just need to give myself that permission that it's okay, and I need to be honest with my co-workers, and I just need to be honest with my boss, and I just need to be honest with my friends and tell them that this is just something that I really want to do. And I've just changed my mind, and that's all right. And everybody was very understanding and very supportive of me. I was financially struggling. Vern and I had been evicted from our home in the middle of COVID. So it was, I was kind of struggling, and I used the very last of my savings to do two things. I bought myself a semi-professional camera that I knew I'd be able to take pretty decent pictures on it, and I bought myself a year's subscription to the Camera Queens, which is a 12-month online incredible group of women photographers. And Belle Vidiglione is the creator of that. And, I hadn't seen too much on it. And it was my sister-in-law that got in touch with me and was like, I'm part of this group and I think you'd really love it. I know you're getting into your photography business and you should give it a shot. And I didn't really know too much about Belle or any of that. And I was just like, I think I watched 2 of her posts and just, it felt right. And so, the last of my money went onto a 12-month subscription with Belle, and I didn't know what to expect. I had no clue how to run a business. I didn't even have an ABN number. I'm literally talking like I started from scratch. I had no clue on what running a business involved, nothing. And so yeah, and like, and Camera Queens is also something that I always get lost for words about as well, because it's the most incredible experience. And so yeah, Belle does an incredible job at holding her masterclasses and her online courses and her in-person workshops, and she just teaching all things about running a business and in photography. And she's been in the business herself for decades, and she just knows all of the things, and she's experienced all of the ups and downs, and she just so openly shares all of her experience with all of that, which 100% I wouldn't be where I am now without any of that as well. I'm really, really grateful for Belle and for all of the women that are inside that group that are just so supportive. And yeah, I think it was really big as well, because at the time when I left the vets, I also I'd been toying with the idea of giving up alcohol around that time as well. So especially in my 7 years within that industry, I found that I was relying really heavily upon drinking alcohol to chill myself out after a really stressful day. And it was something that I was really, really strongly wanting to live my life without. And at that time of when I left and I, changed my mind on what I wanted to do, I decided to do a 30-day challenge off alcohol as well. And that was the start of me, having a life also that is sober now. And I've now gone 917 days without a drink. And that was also really, really, really huge, I feel, in helping me, to get my energy back, and especially my creativity. My creativity had been particularly really, really stifled while I was drinking. And as soon as I got rid of that out of my life, it was incredible how much of my creativity started coming back to me as well. I didn't feel like I was being suffocated anymore. I was, had so much more energy and all of the things. So that all kind of all tied in together to create this perfect storm of amazingness that allowed me to go on and, start rocking my business.
Yeah, it is a perfect storm of amazingness. That's the best way to describe it. It's so true. Wow. It's so crazy listening to you speak, because I feel like I'm listening to my own story in some ways. It's really bizarre, like the creative parallel and the industry parallel is like, and even the alcohol. I don't drink anymore. I reckon I have a love of scotch and whiskey.
Yeah.
And I would have like one of those once, maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
And it will be a very special occasion, and I will treasure it.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like I could just put like two or three drops on my tongue, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I just want to sit here and sniff it now.
Of course. Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah.
But I used to, when I was at med school and at uni and in those times, like, fuck, I was drunk almost every night.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were just so highly strung. And it's so normalized. It's normalized as a drug that's acceptable for everybody to be using every day. And ironically, as I chose my creativity and I left and I stepped into entrepreneurship, it wasn't even a choice to stop drinking. I just wasn't interested anymore. I just wanted to create.
Yeah.
And then I went to my high school reunion, my 10-year high school reunion, 2021. Yeah. And I had a few drinks, and it was then I realized, I was like, I'm wasted after 2 drinks, because holy shit, I haven't drunk in like 4 years.
Wow.
I just was like, whoa, because I hadn't even found my like love of whiskey again yet. that's only kind of happened in the last year or so.
Mm-hmm.
That hadn't. So I just had this mindset of like, you either get drunk or you drive, so you don't drink.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's incredible. I really resonate with the mental clarity as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, yeah, there was definitely always a part of me that wanted to subdue it with alcohol as well, because I was almost completely terrified of what I could create.
Mm.
Because I've always known that it is there. But stepping into that can be also quite terrifying of knowing what you can create.
It's really vulnerable.
It's really big. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I was hungover all the time, it was a perfect excuse to not do that. So it was just, but yeah, it was very normal for me to be drinking every day for sure. And in the lead up to me quitting, I started having really terrible anxiety attacks, like crippling, and they would have me up at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and that would be it for me for the rest of the night. I'd literally be pacing the house because I
Wow.
would have this debilitating anxiety, and about the most ridiculous of things as well, like a conversation that I'd had 5 years ago with somebody, would keep me awake for like the rest of the night. It would just set my mind into this crazy spin. And I also had really bad social anxiety as well. So if I was going into any type of social situation, I would rely on having a drink to calm me down before I went into it. And that was any social situation. That was even, I would feel like that even going to the school pickup. It got to that point. Like,
Wow.
I would be so anxious about going to the school pickup that I'd feel like I needed to have a beer before I went. It got to that place of, and it was just silly. It got to a really silly place of, and it just absolutely was not serving me anymore. But yeah, the anxiety attacks particularly was bad. And so yeah, when I just decided to do like a 30-day challenge. And I think it was kind of in my subconscious building up, because I'd gone to the bookshop for a bit of a wander around, and when you just go in and you don't really have anything on your mind in particular of what you want to get. I'd just walk in and have a feel around and see what jumped out at me, and it was actually like a quit alcohol book that day, even though I wasn't really thinking about it at that particular point. And I bought the book and I read it from front to cover in about 3 days. And the author in that book, her name's Annie Grace, and the book's incredible. It's called This Naked Mind, and she suggests doing a 30-day challenge in that as well. And yeah, after I did the challenge, I just felt bloody brilliant after 30 days. And it went on from there. And it helped because I had an app on my phone as well that told me every day. And I've still got that app now, and it still tells me at 8 o'clock every night that I've gone another day. And it's really nice to have that, because I still find it difficult. Like, I still find it difficult now after all that time, that to not have a drink when everyone else is having a drink is really hard. But I also know that I have no off switch, like I can't just have one and then stop. It's like you just got to keep going. And that was always my style of drinking, was just I'd have one and then it'd be like, right, we're on, let's have another, let's go. And then it would be total self-destruction and not caring. Which that was just the way that it was for me for some reason. But so that all sort of tied in with the starting the new business, and it all worked pretty well. So
wow. And I think it's nice when you have, it's like an addiction, right? When you have a crutch or an addiction like that, and then you awaken your creativity and you allow yourself to be in your creativity, and you find that thing that just turns you on, that turns the light on, and you can pour your energy into that instead.
Yeah.
It becomes functional rather than emptying yourself out into something that's not serving you. You're refueling yourself actually when you create in something that you love.
Yeah. And I still get the 1 a.m. wake ups now, but instead it's not an anxiety attack, it's a creation attack. It's all these ideas that start flooding in, like, oh, I could do this. And next thing I'm up and the laptop's fired up and I'm researching stuff, and like it's that instead now, which how joyful is that?
Yeah, it's like you're alive.
Totally.
And I think it's interesting. I've seen a lot of people quit alcohol recently. I saw a friend of mine that I went to uni with. He just did 6 months without and shared his biggest takeaways.
Wow.
And one of them, I don't remember them all. One of them was like how it wasn't the big things that were hard for him. It was the little things. It was the, hey mate, want to catch up and go to the pub?
Yeah.
No, can we go to a cafe instead? Or a restaurant instead? Or, that was harder than going to the festival and being the sober person and doing the big things. I think we all, maybe not all, but it's kind of more normal to have the event that you go to where you're like, actually, I can't get fucked up because I've got this, this, and this, or I'm going to drive, or you take your turn, or, but those little incidental, wow, I had 3 cigarettes today. Why? Just because I didn't even realize I was doing it. It's like those little day-to-day moments that really add up. I was going to ask you, and you answered it already, if it's something that you still like consciously battle with. And you did answer that, but do you have like is your vision to just be sober for the rest of your life or indefinitely? Would you love to enjoy a drink? Or
again, I don't really have any expectations out of what I wanted to achieve here. I can only go day by day, and I know that I'm still not ready. I just feel that I'm still not ready to start inviting alcohol back into my life. I've really, really enjoyed living a life without it and forming lots of new habits and making lots of new friends, and that also don't drink. And just what I've created, I think I'm now tying that. I'm comparing my experience, I think, to pre-business and now in business as well. Like since Fifth of a Second was created, I've done that completely sober, and it's almost like I feel like I'm doing her an injustice if I start drinking again, because she was created from such a pure place. That's how I've had to vision it that way to help me through the process as well. It's like I don't want to let her down. Like she relies on me being sober to be able to help everybody else as well. Like in all of these creations, like I need to be sober to do that. I know that I do. And so I'm actually the thing that I miss most, I know you were saying about whiskey, or a nippy sweetie, as Billy Connolly would call it, but I really miss Guinness. It's the one thing that was always my drink, was a pint of Guinness, and I really, really, really miss it. But when I just went back to the UK last November, they have released alcohol-free Guinness.
Oh wow.
And they have 4 packs of 0% Guinness. And when I took myself up into the Highlands in Scotland, I stopped at it was like a co-op on the side of the road, and I stopped and they had it in stock. And so I bought a 4-pack of Guinness. And when I got to my little cabin up in the Highlands of Scotland, I ran myself a bath and I cracked one of these Guinnesses, and it tasted exactly the same. And for me, I was just like, oh my God, this is all I need. Like, it's like, life complete. And so I'm kind of hanging out because they don't have it over in Australia yet. So I'm really hanging out for them to get the alcohol-free Guinness over here. And because I feel that once that's here, I'll be completely fine, because that's really the only thing that I really miss. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully they get it over here.
Yeah, surely it'll happen.
Yeah,
We're slowly getting more and more alcoholic free beverages over here. Notice,
totally.
because Claire used to really, well, she still does, like enjoys beer. I can't stand the taste of beer. Any beer I've ever tried, even cider, I just don't like it.
Oh no, yeah.
Um, but there's so many alcohol free ones that she's tried a lot of them now, because
Yeah.
she's similar. She doesn't mind having one, and she doesn't have that addiction to it. But I guess where we come from is there's no benefit to it either. There's no, there just isn't a benefit. The only, like, whereas with the whiskey or that, like, it'll be a really nice whiskey, and there's a benefit, there's like a ritual about it for me that I love, that I'm really present to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really even matter how often it is. Like, I could not do it for the next 5 years and it wouldn't faze me. When I do it, I'll be like, fuck yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, I just caught my eye on the time. We've
Oh, I
gone
know.
down a
We went
rabbit hole.
completely off topic there. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
No, I love
Who
it.
even knew it was gonna go there?
Yeah, didn't see that coming. No, I think I love that though. I just love the intention of wherever we go. And I love the vulnerability. And I think it's really relatable. I think a lot of people are at least wanting to lessen how much they're drinking alcohol right now. And I think an amazing bridge to that actually could be just take 30 days.
Yeah.
And then feel what your body feels like. And then notice if you even want it, like really actually in your body want it.
Yeah.
It's different, right?
Yeah.
Because you can take a step back from it. And what you mentioned about community, yeah, I don't think I have any friends that really drink heavily. Maybe the occasional gin or the occasional glass of wine, but it's certainly not a value in our relationships, and it wasn't a value at our wedding either. We have one wedding, we have a couple wedding photos. We did the champagne where you zhuzh it and it goes everywhere and you spray it everywhere. And I remember Pete, our photographer, he gave us that and he was like, zhuzh it. And we were like, we're not gonna, we just zhuzh it everywhere because we're not really interested in drinking it. We all kind of had a sip because it was like the wedding zhuzh, or but it was like it was funny. It was like just so not our thing. But we're not going to spray cacao everywhere. That won't be great for our outfits. But it would be more likely that we would do that.
I know. And isn't it so funny though that we associate having a good time and really celebrating with this thing that is essentially a poison? Like that still blows my mind. And I was so shocked. In a couple of school holidays ago, I actually took my little boy to the movies to see it. It was a Tom and Jerry movie, and I was absolutely mortified because there's a scene in Tom and Jerry where they go and they're staying in this hotel or something and they want to like celebrate, and so they go straight to the fridge and like the little mouse gets 2 glasses of champagne out, and then the cat goes and they get this bottle of champagne out, and it's like, wait, and they're celebrating, and I'm sitting there mortified because I'm like, they're drilling this into our children from such a young age that to celebrate and to have a good time, you crack a bottle of champagne open. And it just starts so young, like that association and that almost like marketing around it of like, we're going to celebrate, we're going to have a good time. What do? We get the alcohol out. It's, I remember being mortified. Like I was like looking around, like, is anybody else shocked about this? Like, can you
Where do
all see
I
what I'm
sign the
seeing?
petition?
Yeah. And no one cared. No one else cared. They're all just watching the movie. But I'm just like,
But it's amazing when you wake up to it, how prevalent it is. It's true. When we have our dinner parties, when we started having dinner parties, because it's like such a thing, I guess, again, marketed into our brains. You have dinner parties, you put wine on, like you have wine. We were like, well, I don't drink wine. Claire might have a glass of red, like a half a glass of red, but she doesn't want to drink wine just on any night that we have a dinner party. Like, it doesn't really interest us. And we found at the farmers market in Bunbury, they have these things of organic juice and they're sparkling. We just have like 12 of them in our cupboard at all times.
Yeah. I think I have one in my fridge right now, actually.
Yeah, because they're so good.
Yeah.
And like, because even having a dinner party and you have a few drinks and then everyone's driving home, it's like, well, can you drive home? Is everyone actually safe to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's such a thing. Like, on the top of our pantry cupboard, actually, we've got so much wine and champagne up there because of just when people give it to you from, like, you know, I've got a few from shoots that, you know, I've done shoots for people and I'd be like, oh, we got you this. And I never know what to say. So I just accept it because it's a gift that someone's giving you. But then to be like, no, sorry, I don't want it. Like, you know, so I've always just said thank you and gracefully accepted them. But that's still a thing that people say thank you and thank you so much and want to give you a gift, and it's alcohol. That's still very much a thing. So yeah, I've got all this alcohol that sits up on the top shelf because I just don't know what to do with it.
It's not like it's very aligned for you to re-gift it either, because it's not.
Exactly. Yeah, like I've often wondered, like I've pondered what to do with it. I look at it up there and I'm just like, what do I do with all that? And, you know, I can't even drop it at like homeless shelters or anything like that, like I would normally do with like clothing or like, you know, old toys of my sons. Like I wouldn't even want to give it to homeless people, you know, like, or like people that can't afford a bottle of champagne or whatever. Like, you know, that doesn't feel right either to
Well,
pass
if
it
you
on.
can't afford a bottle of champagne, there's probably other things that you need more.
Totally. Yeah. Or just encouraging others to drink. It's just not, so I often wonder. So if anybody's listening, if you'd like some champagne, please send me a message and I'll happily give it to you.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah,
there's 2 little bottles of tequila as well.
I wonder if you can use it for cleaning, like how vodka, you could use that to clean stuff.
Yeah. Wound management. I'll keep it in the car for,
Just put it in the first aid kit.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I want to circle back to fifth of a second because I would really love for you to share about that for people listening and who might be interested in coming to work with you or even enjoying your work. Like, looking at your Instagram is like going to an art gallery. So,
thank you.
Yeah, could you share a little bit about fifth of a second? What's alive in your life right now? What's on offer? What's in your world? Maybe people could do like a 30-day alcohol-free celebratory shoot with you.
That would be amazing.
Really
I would
cool.
love that so much. Yeah. If anybody does their 30 days, like, I'll do a mad discount on a shoot. Yeah. That's such a great idea.
Yeah.
You have all the good ideas.
I'm a creative coach. It's my profession.
Of course. Oh, I love it so much. Yeah, so fifth of a second. I reckon the best way to find me these days, I am a haunter of Instagram these days. I do like that platform. I know many have issues with it, but I bloody love it. I think it's great. I've met so many incredible people through that platform, and, you know, I'd say 80% of my work comes through Instagram. I really, really like it for that. So yeah, you can definitely always find me there. And I've got links in that little link tree thing on my Instagram that takes you to all the other places too. And, you know, my website's a good place to go and read a bit about my work and see some portfolio images and check out my offerings for this year and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Amazing.
And yeah, that's it. I actually just sent out my newsletter last night. I do a I do a seasonal newsletter. So I do, like, every 3 months. I've been trying to hold myself accountable to do this one thing. And I
love
do it. I know. And so my idea behind it, I do reflections on the previous season. So I just do like the 4 main standard seasons, So we're just coming into our springtime here on this side of the world. I do a winter reflections newsletter, which that just went out yesterday. But I thought that I'd had a pretty mellow winter, but then when I try and pack it all into one newsletter, what's gone on in the last 3 months, I was saying to my husband, I was just like, there's actually loads to go into this one. Like, I'm struggling to try and keep it condensed because I don't want to overwhelm people with all my crap. What I've been doing. But I just finished a darkroom course through TAFE, which was really exciting. So I've got all of the knowledge now of how to process my own films and how to develop my own photographs, which it brings me just that step closer to all of my work. And so I'm really inspired to open up my own darkroom, to start processing all my own black and white images. And I recently did a full-blown photo shoot for a couple that are expecting their first baby. And I used 4 rolls of film with them, and it all came out really wonderfully, which it was such a beautiful experience. So I'm looking forward to doing more analog and film work as well. But yeah, that's
so cool. I read your newsletter.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And I love it because I get so many newsletters and I subscribe to so many things, and I so often don't read them. And then I end up bulk deleting these emails from people because I've never read them. And I go, wow, I've got 50. I'm not going to read it. I'll pick one.
Yeah.
So, no, I love it.
You read mine. Thank you.
But I love it that I got it and I was like, I'm going to read it. And I'm going to actually read it. And it's like it has that energy because there's only 4 of them. I want to read it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really actually inspired me to shift one of the influences on me shifting my newsletter structure, because we've done a weekly newsletter at the Genius Portal for 79 weeks now.
Whoa.
Which is amazing.
That's massive. Yeah, well done.
But it's it's a lot of energy, and it's sort of I don't know, just since coming back from Africa, I feel very empty in a good way. Like I just want to be emptier. So I'm going to do less emails. It's like one of the things. Yeah. And your email was a cool inspo for that. So thanks.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's good to hear.
Really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. I will I'll put your Instagram, but I'll put your website as well, if you don't mind, just for anyone who doesn't have Instagram, because there are lots of people who don't now. So if you're on IG, go get amongst it. And if you're not, go find those photos in the origin story on the website, like I'm gonna and send Addie a message to hang out. But
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I was gonna ask you what your favorite song is, but you are waiting patiently to listen to the whole album.
The whole thing. I'm gonna immerse myself in the whole thing. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a different question that I haven't asked anyone else, and that is, what's it like seeing your art as album covers?
Freaking awesome. So cool.
Your face. So good.
I scrunch my face up. I can hardly get my words out because my face is so scrunched. It's the best feeling. Like, it's so good. Thank you so much for gifting me that opportunity. Far out. Like, I haven't even really, it hasn't sunk in that it's going to be on like a vinyl album, like forever, hanging around in the physical world. Like, that hasn't really, and I think that won't really sink in until I see it. But I know, I'm so devastated. I'm gonna miss your launch. You're like, change your flight.
Yeah. That's my first thought. I know you have other commitments and you can't, but I was like, what do you mean?
I know. Devastating. I know.
FaceTime you in or something. I don't know. Come late. I don't know. Or not.
Yeah.
It's sad. You'll be missed.
So sad. I know. I was genuinely devastated when I realized that ever so slight lap over, my
Yeah.
flight literally lands at an hour into your launch in
Yeah.
Perth. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good
Devastated.
2.5 hour drive
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
That's funny. Something magic will come out of that. It's been so magic and aligned and clear and just works. Like everything has just worked. There's going to be something, I don't know what, but I think something for both of us. There must be a higher alignment at play.
Yeah.
For that to be the thing. But yeah, I sympathize with your FOMO. And I wish you were going to be there.
I know.
I'd love you to,
Yeah.
But there must be something magic in store.
I know.
That's all I have to say about it. Yeah.
Totally.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
And we were like, yeah, we'll be 40 minutes, an hour and a half later. Sorry about that. Oh.
I'm not. I hope the listeners are still with us. I think they will.
I know. If you made it this far, well done.
Yeah. Thank you. Well done. Reach out to Addie if you want to do some magical photography work and especially film. It's actually been really cool watching you with the film stuff, and it's made me go, maybe we could do the next album with film. It'll just be me. It won't be 14 women the next album.
Yeah.
So.
I might have a meltdown if you ask me to do that on film.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh, brilliant. So good.
That's so cool. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. But yeah, reach out if anyone wants to, even if you just want to have a cup of tea, like anything. I love just having a chat and having a cuppa.
You're gonna have an army of new friends.
No, that's awesome. Thank you, Ellie.
You're so welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Bye, everyone listening.
It's the Genius Portal.